Okay, I know how scummy it is to do what I do, but there's people who do so much worse shit for money. I just tell people what they want to hear, and it keeps my lights on. Simple as that. I don't like it, but I haven't been able to keep a job more than a couple of months since I was 19. So it's down to this, or crime. I'm not spiritual at all. I don't believe in any of it, but I do believe in eating. I do just about all of the spiritual hoopla you hear about. Energy massages, selling trinkets, and what I'm about to get into today. Psychic reading. Most of my clients are what you would typically expect to walk into a psychic session. I've had the whole shebang of older people that just want to talk to their dead spouse, to young astrology girls with healing crystals and chakra imbalances. Sure, there's some odder cases, but I really try not to judge those in grief. They all leave satisfied, if not skeptical. But those skeptic guys do love to come in and tell me who's superior. When he walked in, that's just what I was expecting. He came into the little shop with a smug look, gazing at all the items we have on display. The shop is small, and the only people that work there are me, my friend Irene, who runs the whole gift shop section, and her mum, who helps manage, Sandra. When he walked in, he browsed through the incense and candles, rubbing his fingers across them. He was tall, handsome, kind of brooding, but doing so with a swagger. Honestly, a cute guy. I was chatting with Irene at the front until he looked up at us and smiled. "Hey, I was told you guys do psychic readings here," he asked us with a friendly smile. Irene blushed and nudged up her eyebrows at me before approaching him. "Why, yes, sir. Would you like to schedule an appointment or do a walk-in?" I laughed to myself and rolled my eyes. She mainly uses this job to chat up the odd guy that comes in. She's about as much into the supernatural stuff as I am. I could tell she liked this one by the way she looked up at him as they spoke. And honestly, good for her with this guy. He was very charming. I eavesdropped a little. "Yeah, I'd like to set up a date for..." They ran through a lot of the business stuff, and I was kind of far, so I didn't hear much of it. I heard Irene say, "So could we get a number to contact you?" He obliged and added, "And you can have that too if you'd like." I saw her blush, red as an apple. I mean, I've got it here written down, so why not? I couldn't hear much more of the conversation after another customer came to talk to me, but I could tell they were flirting a bunch. Finally, he left and bought some of those candles and a box of incense, giving me a cheeky grin and a wink before passing through the door. Irene came up to me with wide eyes. "I have his number," she said with a giggle. I looked at her in shock. "What? You two were there for like 10 minutes max," I replied, laughing with her. "Come on, you have to admit, he's cute." "Alright, yeah. But remember, he's coming back for the session, so don't break his heart or anything." We both laughed at each other before Sandra came in and we switched on our professional faces. The days ticked by, and Irene was texting this guy through that whole period. I didn't pay any mind to it, but she seemed to get excited by him. I kept telling her that she should still remember he's a stranger, and she would just say, "He's going to a psychic. You think he can be that scary?" and laugh it off. In retrospect, I'd really never seen her like that for a guy. The day of this guy's appointment came, and Irene had it practically marked on a calendar. As the guests came in, she was distracted all day. Sandra was put off as well. She would keep staring between the door and the clock, waiting for him. Sandra pulled me aside while I was free, about an hour before he was supposed to arrive. Hey, can I talk to you? Sure, I said. She led me into the back and locked eyes with me. I haven't met this guy, but something's off. She's never been like this about someone. I agree. But maybe she just really likes him. He was really putting on the charm for her. I told her. Sure, but just see what you can pull out of his session, okay? It just gives me a bad feeling. I agreed, and we walked back out into the shop section. Irene looked at us as we left together, but we just smiled at her and went back to what we were doing. When the guy came in, Irene shot up like a whistle. She was almost frozen with butterflies. Hey there, she said with loud excitement. He smiled at her and leaned against the counter. Sup? Is she ready? I can wait with you if she isn't. He looked at her with a big smile. No, she's ready, she said, red as crimson. She was almost shaking, talking to him. Follow her. She pointed at me. I walked my way to him, finally getting closer to this guy. He had shaggy, longer, dark brown hair, with a hair tie keeping it up in a bun. He had some acne, but otherwise was covered in smooth, tanned skin. Sandra watched him from further away, with an icy glare. Come, I demanded him, as I led him into the room. It only got worse from here. He followed me closely before I closed the door to the dark room. It was lit up with candles. The smell of incense filled my nostrils, as I sat and requested he do the same. I drew some symbol on the table, supposed to be like a spell or something, and raised my hands. He watched me closely in curiosity. To whom are we communicating with today? I asked him. An old friend, he said with a smile. Okay, what is their name? I asked, already irritated. I didn't like doing these. They made me uncomfortable. I try to get them done quickly, and being unclear is always going to slow it down. Mary, he said, looking straight into me. It was an ominous look. Mary. Okay, I'm trying to reach a connection now. He held his gaze, unmoving and unemotional. Usually people start to get antsy, or at least sad, but he was just pure stone. He crossed his arms. Mary, yes, I see a Mary, I think. You see her? He asked. Sort of. More of a feeling. I do feel that this person is your Mary, though. What would you like to say to her as an introduction? Well, hello, he replied with a chuckle. I forced a smile. Okay. Hello, Mary. She says hello. His jocular demeanor was getting on my nerves, but I had to keep up the act. Is she excited to speak with me? He asked with a grin. Oh, very. I can tell you two were very close. He laughed to himself. Yes, indeed. Very close. She wants to know how you've been. What have you been up to since she's passed? Oh, you know, the usual, he said nonchalantly. He wasn't giving me anything to work with. Good. She assumes. You've been good? Sort of. I do miss having her around. We spent so much time together those last few months. It was exhilarating. She misses that time too. She says she wishes there could have been more time to spend with you. He sat back in his seat and looked somehow more smug. Yes, so do I. So unfortunate it came to a conclusion there. He was acting much more odd. He spoke much differently than before with Irene there. Nonetheless, I continued. She is sad that it did. She hopes you aren't too upset it ended so abruptly. I suppose I am, but not necessarily. I hope she understands why it had to, he said with a piercing gaze into me. What the fuck? Uh, um, of course she does. I started to stutter and get uncomfortable. She says she is glad you aren't too upset, and and that she is always with you. Oh, I know. She never really left, I suppose. He was starting to really give me the creeps. Is he trying to imply something? What do you miss most about your time together? She wonders. Very tough question, my dear Mary, he said, pausing. I suppose it would be her expressions. She was always so animated around me. All of our activities were so much fun together. This was getting really uncomfortable. She wants to know what was your favorite activity. Hers was the chats you two had. I was reaching for straws, trying not to assume yet. He laughed. Wow, she really wants to get into it. Well, I did enjoy the chats too, but... He mumbled for a bit, thinking to himself. I genuinely couldn't tell if this guy was trying to joke with me. His happy-go-lucky attitude suggests that. But it had some unnerving honesty to it. And his expressions, and that fucking face he keeps giving me, the kind of unapologetic, I know you know stare. He sat pondering a while, until he revives with his answer. Okay, yes. I think my favorite activity was that time when we were both at my place, and I wanted to play that game. The one where she was playing dog, and I the owner. I stared at him with the most confused and awkward face I could give him. He simply looked at me and shrugged, saying, What? Okay, I said, now visibly weirded out. She said she enjoyed that too. Or, shoot, that time His face suddenly dropped and went cold. His friendly demeanor shifted into unemotional and stiff. Wouldn't let her eat to make her body weaker. I looked up at a statue, peering through me like I was glass. My face flushed with fear as my head began to race. This is real. He isn't kidding. I'm in danger. What do I do? Or how about the time she prayed for a god to let her out of my clutches? The room's relaxing aura was filled with tension. I could cut the air with a knife. He stood up and slammed his hands on the table. Or how about when the time was ripe to finally let her receive that salvation, when I slashed her open and used her bones to fit my crown, when her soul left her body and entered mine, when God's mind, ripe with torment from what he had to do, woke up to consume the very reality he designed. My jaw was gaping with shock. I know you can't speak with the dead. They are with me now. You're fucking crazy, was the only words that could escape my mouth. He snapped back into his friendly demeanor and replied with a sarcastic laugh. Well, at least I'm not going to die during the reckoning this Sunday. So, do I pay over there with Irene? Don't you fucking touch her. I'm calling the police, I said with a shaky but stern shout. He slid up into my face and said, Do it. They can't find anything. Their bodies are twisted inside my own, locked so deep, hell can't even find them. She is next that will bring the fall. I was frozen still for about 20 minutes. Sandra came inside to talk with me and found me like that, pale as a ghoul. He left with Irene, and she hasn't come home. It's Sunday. What's going to happen? What did he mean by the reckoning? I have so many questions. Hello, sinister listeners. If you've enjoyed this story, then you'll find all the author's information in the description below. For more content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to succumb to the sinister.